Hello there and welcome to the next instalment in this series of lessons looking at blues rhythm guitar. And today we're going to be looking at something I call an upbeat shuffle, and it's the kind of rhythm pattern you might hear on a B.B. King record or something like that. And it's a very cool pattern. As the name would suggest, we're going to be playing on the upbeats. It's something that works particularly well if you're playing with a band and you've got a bass player and a drummer and they're emphasising the downbeats. Then as a guitarist you can just fit into the gaps between those downbeats playing your upbeat pattern, and together it creates a really interesting and exciting sound. So let me take you through this pattern. I'm going to start by showing you the chord voicings that I'm using, and then we can get into the rhythm part of it. We're in the key of B flat here, which is quite a common blues key. It's a 12-bar blues using fairly standard chord changes. We need our 1, 4 and 5 chords as usual. So in the key of B flat, our 1 chord is going to look like this. I'm using a B flat bar chord, an E form bar chord if you're familiar with the caged system and that way of looking at chord voicings. Don't worry if you're not, I'll just take you through this chord voicing. We're at the 6th fret. We've got our B flat root note on the low E string at the 6th fret. I'm barring all the way across the 6th fret with my index finger, so I've got a B flat note there. Then I'm playing the 8th fret on the A string with my 3rd finger. I've got my bar playing the 6th fret on the 4th string, and then I'm playing the 7th fret on the 3rd string with my 2nd finger, and then I've got my bar covering the 6th fret on the 2nd string and the 1st string. So that is our B flat bar chord, a B flat 7 bar chord, and it's a very common shape. Just take a little bit of strength there with the bar to make sure that all those notes are ringing clearly. In particular, make sure the note on the 4th string is ringing clearly. That's our flat 7th. It's the note which gives the chord its character, and that's quite an easy one to miss unless you've got a very strong and accurate bar there. So that's our 1 chord. For our 4 chord, we're going to need an E flat 7, and I'm going to play that like this. I'm playing the 6th fret on the 5th string with my 3rd finger. I'm playing the 5th fret on the 4th string with my 2nd finger. I'm playing the 6th fret on the 3rd string with my little finger, and my 1st finger is playing the 4th fret on the 2nd string. Again, it's a very nice sounding and common 7th chord voicing. With this one, you need to have good muting because we don't want either of the 2 outside strings to be ringing. So it's fairly easy to achieve. We're going to mute the high E string just by letting our 1st finger lean into it, and we're just muffling it with the underside of our 1st finger. For the low E string, I'm just using my thumb to come round over the top of the neck to touch that low E and mute it. I'm probably also just touching it a little bit with the tip of my 3rd finger. So that way you get a really nice sounding chord, and you're able to hit all of the strings with your picking hand and not worry about getting any unwanted notes. So that's our 4 chord, E flat 7. For the 5 chord, we're simply going to move the same shape 2 frets higher, giving us an F7. So we've got the 8th fret on the A string, the 7th fret on the D string, the 8th fret on the G string, and the 6th fret on the B string. Exactly the same shape as the 4 chord. So we've got 1, 4 and 5, B flat 7, E flat 7 and F7. And we're simply going to take those chords round our standard 12-bar chord progression that we've seen before. Now let's take a look at the interesting part of things, which is this rhythm, this upbeat rhythm. And as I said earlier, we're playing just on the upbeats, giving us this kind of sound: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and So it's a blues, it's a shuffle kind of feel. So we've got that swing, it's that swung 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but we're just going to be playing on the ands. So you still need to be feeling where the downbeat is, otherwise you're going to get disorientated and lost. But we're just going to be sounding the chords on the upbeats. So it's a good idea to tap your foot here just so you're really sure where the actual rhythmic pulse is. And once that's established, you can start feeling those upbeats, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now you notice I'm playing those upbeats with an upward strum of the pick, and I'm making each of these chord hits fairly short, not quite staccato, but they're fairly, you could make them staccato actually, that would sound quite good, but they're just quite short chord hits. And I'm achieving that with some left hand muting. So as soon as I've played my chord hit, I'm just going to release pressure with my left hand to cut the chord a bit short. So you've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now the other thing that's important in achieving the right feel here is to keep your right hand moving and to keep feeling the beat in your right hand. This is something that I banged on a lot about in my beginners lessons. It's kind of one of the secrets of good rhythm guitar, is to keep feeling the pulse and the beat in your right hand. So here I'm going to be moving my right hand up and down at all times, but I'm just going to be squeezing down my chord on the upward strum. So you've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And here it's okay to actually hit the strings on the downbeat and have a bit of a muted chord there. In fact, that's probably a good thing. That actually helps with the vibe and the overall feeling of this pattern. So we can actually scratch the strings on the downbeat and then just squeeze the chord down for the upbeat, so to get this kind of sound. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And it's super important here to stay as relaxed as you can in your right arm and hand and wrist, just so you get that nice relaxed in the pocket kind of feel. You don't want any kind of rushing or tenseness to come through in the sound of this. So what I think I'm going to do, let me play through this chord progression quite slowly to put it all together so you can see how it sounds. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, changing to the 4 chord. Back to the 1. 5, 4, 1. And just at the end there, I just did a little turnaround idea, and all I did, I did actually play on the downbeat on that last bar, I think. So I went 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Then I played the sharp 5 chord. That's an F sharp 7, so it's 1 fret higher than the 5 chord. And straight away I moved down to the 5 chord for a little turnaround. So if I just play the last couple of bars of the 12 bar sequence, you'll see what I mean. We've got 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 downbeat, and then F sharp 7 to F7. So one more time. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So I'm playing that downbeat with a down stroke, and then for the 2 7th chords I'm playing that with a down and an up. So one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that sets you up to go round the 12 bar sequence one more time. Once you've got this basic idea down, there are a few other things you could try just to add some extra interest and variety to this particular pattern. First thing you could do is try using some half-step approach chords. And this is something I was doing at the start of the lesson. By that I mean we're going to be approaching our 1, 4 or our 5 chords from a chord that is 1 fret lower, and then we're going to be moving into our target chord. And it's a very common way of adding a bit more harmonic interest to a blues progression. And the way I was doing that is on the 4th upbeat of any given bar, I was playing a chord 1 fret lower than the chord I was on, or the chord that I was going to, and then I was just sliding in to the target chord on the following down beat. Let me try and demonstrate to you how that works. If we're on the 1 chord, the B flat 7, we'd be going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now on the and of 4, I can go 1 fret lower, in this case it will be an A7 chord, and then immediately slide back up to the target chord. That would sound like this. We got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I'm just sliding up to the target chord. I'm just hitting it slightly on the beat 1 as well, I think. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then just continuing with my upstroke pattern. And that's something you can do on any of the chords in the 12 bar blues. You can do it approaching the 4 chord and approaching the 5 chord as well. Just remember you're going to be playing the chord 1 fret lower than the chord you're on, or the chord that you're going to. So if we're going to be changing to the 4 chord, you want to be approaching that from a half fret lower, and then on the downbeat you're hitting the chord you're going to. So why don't I just play through a 12 bar doing that on each chord, and it'll be far easier for you to hear and see how it works than it will be for me to try and explain it. Here we go. We got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. It's on the 1 chord. Going to the 4. There's our half step approach. Again, 1 and 2 and back to the 1. 1 2 3 4 1. Approaching the 5. 1 2 3 4. And actually, when I was going from the 5 down to the 4, I was approaching the 4 with a chord that was a half step above the 4. And there's no reason why you can't use chords a half step above as approach chords instead, just as another way of adding interest. So that's the first thing you can try, these half step approach chords. Other things, as I said in the other lessons, it's important to be able to play the blues in all 12 keys, and this pattern is no different. So get practicing. If you know your circle of fifths, that's a good way of practicing in all 12 keys. You can either just slide the chords I've shown you up or down the neck to the appropriate place. You can try starting this pattern with chords that have got a 5th string root or a 4th string root, and by all means use some other 7th chord voicings that you know. I'm not really going to go into that in this particular lesson, but if you do know other 7th chord voicings, then this will be a good chance for you to get practicing those and to work them into your playing. So I think that's about it for this lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it. Get practicing on this stuff. There's quite a lot of stuff for you to think about and to digest here, so take your time with it, and I'll see you for another lesson very soon. Bye bye.